What's up, everybody, and welcome to Prepper Talk Radio. As usual, it is Scott, Shane, and Paris in the house. Paris will be with us in just a second. He apparently, I don't know, something happened. He just walked off the screen. Hopefully he's okay. But man, we're excited to be here. We're excited to get into the thick of some of our favorite topics of all time tonight, talking about getting back into the roots, go walk down memory lane. If you will, of our ancestors and how they did things, how they lived life, way more resilient than we do now, and kind of getting back to the roots of your heritage. And as Shane likes to say, I'll let Shane say it. You got to what?
Look to the past to prepare for the future. Is that what you want me to say?
Amen. So for those of you guys just jumping in, please stick with us because this is going to be a fun episode. And thank you for everyone that's already in our live. This is our weekly live. And I want to remind you, we are brought to you by our affiliate system. That's how we pay to keep this podcast going. It's one of those things where you got to pay to play, right? Well, we only find and work with affiliates that actually will help you, that benefit you, the listener. And one of our favorites we really want to help you guys with, because there is shortages coming. Make sure you go check out jacemedical.com and get your emergency antibiotic kits. You can also get your regular prescriptions in advance filled with them. So check out jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. And make sure you use the code PrepperTalk. It'll save you $10 at checkout. And of course, I mean, who doesn't want to save $10 in our current economy and the state of affairs? So without further ado, Paris, welcome back. Let's talk about getting to the roots. Let's talk about jumping back and past and figuring this stuff out. It's funny because as we've been preparing for this, all I can think about is how much better everything was 30, 40 years ago. Tools lasted longer. Like everything lasted longer. Everything was better. Food actually molded, so you knew it was real food, right? Now it's like you can put it on the counter for a year and it's still supposedly, air quotes, edible, but there's no nutritional value, whether it's day one or day 365.
Yeah, we had I remember a show you and I, Scott, did years ago that was about, are things actually getting better or worse? Right, because we talk about all the advancements in science and all different kinds of things, which we can actually can argue whether it's advancements or not, right? But as I was putting together my thoughts for this, and always thinking, look to the past, look to the past, look to the past, and of course, what comes to mind is the freaking pyramids, right? How did they build those darn pyramids, right? So there's obviously some things that were lost, some knowledge that was lost that we still don't have today. We have other knowledge, right? And as I've said before, right?
I think it's hidden. 100%. I believe it is hidden from us intentionally, those a-holes.
Absolutely. So like I mentioned before, we keep learning and learning and learning more and more and more about less and less and less. So we know nothing about everything, right? Or know everything about nothing. That's that's just the way it goes. It's like, okay, what did we learn? You go through school your entire life and you realize I'm never going to use any of this stuff, and we don't, right? You don't end up using any of it. You get your own training, right? So 100%. Yeah. So my thinking is looking back is gaining additional knowledge, more valuable knowledge than what we have now, and of course, the conspiracy side of me, apocalypse ahead, which side am I over here? That's, the quote, the famous quote from Einstein, right? It says, I know not what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones, right? So we're moving backwards, but we're moving forward, but we're moving backwards.
We live in the information age. And what's interesting is there's so much information, but how do you know what's true? You got to go back a couple episodes, Discerning the Truth, and we'll listen to that episode, because I think that is one of the foundational things about knowing where we are. Because if you look to the past, where were all the wise people? The greatest minds were the ones who were wise. Today, the greatest minds are the loudest. Mm-hmm. And there's no evidence backing up why people think that mind is so great. You'll hear someone like, oh yeah, this guy, what they have to say is brilliant. And it's like, none of what they said is true though. And it's all tied to propaganda and to false ideologies.
Well, my word here, the word easy, it said it was not so easy back then, quoting his grandfather. And I guess it depends on what you mean by easy. I think in some respects, life is harder nowadays than it was, but
there's
easier in many ways, but harder physically, harder mentally now, easier physically now.
Well, it's hard because like you look in the past and you think, oh, just 50 years ago they went through the Depression. You're like, well, actually, 50 years ago was the 80s. Go back farther, right? Go back way farther, and then think about, okay, how hard was it to live through the Depression? It was really hard. And why did they live through that? Why did our society go through that? Again, banking issues. Again, just lots of messed up things from the political elites doing stupid agendas. But getting back to it, like the people who were hardy and gardened and homesteaded and stored food for rainy days, like they got through those times a lot easier than pretty much everybody else. And there's wisdom in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when is the best time to plant a tree?
20 years
20
ago.
years ago. 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. Like, I'm so excited. I was actually out this week. I've got a trainee that's been riding with me for work. And we go through this section of this neighborhood to deliver. And everybody there has gardens and livestock and orchards. Not everybody has orchards, but a lot of people have little orchards. And I'm like, this is living. This is what people used to do normally. And to find a neighborhood where that's what everybody does is almost unfathomable to me. I've never seen that anywhere else. And it's like, that's how it should be. And you think about like during World War II, they started doing these victory gardens. You guys remember hearing about those when you were alive back during World War II? Because we're all so old. Like victory gardens was America's way to help get through all the shortages. And I started seeing this pop up last year. Everyone started growing victory gardens again. Well, then the USDA is like, hey, register your victory garden.
No, thanks.
Why on earth would I want to do that? It's a victory garden so that because you don't know about it. Like, that's why it's a victory, because I'm not tied to the food shortage issues, right? I'm not tied to the stupidity of society. Like, society is stupid. People are smart. And we need to focus more on that and focus more on, okay, what are the things that have worked historically throughout time? Now, we don't know how to build the pyramids. For some reason, we don't, like, without amazing equipment and machinery, like hidden knowledge. But what do we know about that? I think I want to find out from your perspectives, what are the most important things we can be doing that our ancestors did going forward?
And I don't want to take away from progress, because we need to progress. We need to have moving forward. However, I feel like too much of what we're doing is moving forward at the expense of things that worked. And it's like, if that worked, why did we stop doing it? Because we wanted to find something new that worked. Well, that doesn't mean you let go of the things that do work in the process. You got to hold on to what works and try new things in the meantime, not completely not completely drop everything that's worked and try to find something new.
Well, it's like I have a grinder that I can plug in to my drill and use, right? And it also has a hand crank it can use. I would much rather go into the future using that than going back to rubbing two rocks together to grind wheat.
Totally.
Like, it makes more sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. A blend of old world knowledge and new technology, newfangled things. So yeah, who knows if they had electricity back in the days of the pyramids, right? But they had something more than we know, right? And I don't want to be hogging all the time here. So, but like what you said, Scotty, is we got to go back to old world ways of doing things. We think of, and most people think of life is getting up, go to the 9 to 5, commuting to your job, coming home, sitting down for dinner, watching TV, go to bed, right? Whereas, how was it 100 years ago? It was, we're out working in our gardens. So there's there's a big disconnect, like you said, Paris. I love what you said, that if I can, connect the dots here, that we've lost certain things, we've gained certain things. We want to make them work together. How do we do that, and and not throw away the things of the past, because that's what's happened. Like, for example, medical advancements, right? We've gotten away from all the medicinal herbs, all the things that kept humanity healthy for thousands of years. And in the last 100, 150, 200 years, drugs have been replaced. We say, oh, this is all new and better. And we know now it's not. That's not true. And those are the kind of things that we've completely gotten away from. That's the knowledge that we need to go back and learn more of.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of joking about the pyramids, right? But no, there's some truth there. But what I really mean is that what you guys mentioned is getting back to the truth of what our ancestors knew about taking care of ourselves, and not giving that to someone else to take care of us, but have someone else take care of us, right?
Well, putting a spin on what Mike just said, he said, what's missing today is work ethic, right? Work ethic and in the individuality and individual responsibility for life. Like, everyone back then was focused on healing. The whole medical industry over 100 years ago was about healing. And then it switched to the American Medical Association. Things went sideways. Rockefellers got involved, and they went away from healing and started practicing medicine. And that's a big difference. Healing is fixing the root, whereas medical treatment is to resolve all the symptoms, not fix the thing that's causing the symptoms. And the same is in life. Like, oh, my job's not paying me enough, but I'm going to stay here forever and just endure, when I could be doing something else on my own for myself and for my family in my free time, instead of zoning out on TikTok or YouTube, or, not to say don't watch our YouTubes, but, wasting time watching cable television when you could be learning something and expanding your mind, listening to Prepper Talk Radio and doing something, learning something, a valuable skill.
Or we've been lulled into complacency. I mean, that's what the education system does. That is what everything, the ease of living that we have nowadays makes us complacent. Oh, this is the way life should be. I don't need to overthink this, overthink that. People are telling me what to do, what I should think. And yeah, it's bad.
One of the big problems with those timeless principles is that they're kind of boring when you think about it. Like, you mean I need I need to make money and then not spend more than I make? That's not fun.
What?
I need to save money. What? I need to have a garden. I need to be, if I get fired, a lot of people, I think it's funny because I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And so I have an entrepreneur spirit in me, and that's it. The people who don't have that spirit, that's fine. I get it, because we all, big companies and corporations need to have people work for them. But the reality is that I feel like it's more dangerous to work for somebody else, or at least as dangerous to work for somebody else as it is to be an entrepreneur, because they can control where, how much. And I'm going to get around to why this relates to getting back to our roots in a minute. But, the people where we work for, you got to be careful, because they can downsize you, right size you, left size you, whatever, at any moment. So you got to be self-reliant and say, and recognize, wait a minute, I'm going to sell my hours to this bidder here, because I'm in control of that. And I'm doing that because that's what I want to do. And make the choice. Realize that the choices, that the things that are happening in your life are from the choices that you've made, and take responsibility for those choices. I feel like 100 years ago, men would stand up. They were more responsible. They were more entrepreneur minded. And even if they did work for others, they recognized that, hey, I still got to be able to take care of things. I still got to be able to do things that in case something goes sideways or something changes. And that's something that a lot of us today, we've been so, like that complacency you're talking about, Shane, is that we've been lulled into a false sense of security with our job security, desires, with our health insurance, all these securities that we want. And we've given up our liberties and our freedoms for the securities. And I feel like that's a big thing that we need to return to our roots about, is say, hey, you know what? Freedom is scary. Liberty is scary, because there's no guarantees. And the idea that we just have to have guarantees about everything all the time is like, well, there's nothing about the human experience that has guarantee on it, you know?
From an eternal perspective, like that's the lie that we've been sold by society today, is that you need a guarantee. Oh, you need a steady paycheck. Oh, you need, right? And we've all been in and out of that throughout our lives. And there's times where we're stuck on something that's a false sense of security, you know. And I just had Whited had a really great post. I'll put it up again. I had that on the screen, but it's like we've fallen into this dependence on systems that we have no control over. And that's the opposite of freedom and liberty, right?
Well, and that's also the jail that's been built around us as well, is to keep us in that system, right? And I've been conditioned my entire life to believe what we've been talking about. But how difficult is it to get out of the system and get back to our roots? And what does that mean? That means staying out of debt, getting out of debt. How do you do that? How do you own a home nowadays without having a mortgage? How do you buy a car, right? You're going to live very differently. Yeah, change your location. You got to change your lifestyle. I mean, it is not easy, and that's on purpose. I mean, we've been put into this box and doing the 9 to 5 thing on purpose. So a lot of people are stuck.
Yeah, I've been trying to cook dinner more. Like we used to eat out all the time, or order out and do drive-throughs, and so I'm trying to cook more. Like personally, me, not just my wife, like me in addition. And it's like it's fulfilling to go back and start doing things that we got too lazy to do before. And we're saving a crap ton of money.
But it takes time.
It does take time, but it doesn't all. And what's funny though is like the amount of time it takes to drive down to a place to get food, wait in line, get the food, and drive home is the same as the prep time in most cases for meals that I'm making.
That's a good point.
And I'm like, it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes round trip to go get food and bring it back. Depending on, unless you order ahead on the app and the place is even closer, right? But like, I can cook a meal in 15, 20 minutes. Now, it's not going to be like, I don't know, beef Wellington, Gordon Ramsay's way, but who wants to do that anyways? Like, that's just not, it's not a mainstay, right? I can make really simple pastas fantastically in 15, 20 minutes, all kinds of cool stuff, chopping vegetables, making salads.
But you have to be prepared for it, right? You got to have the stuff in the cupboard. You got to be say, no, I got to run down to the store and go get what you need and then make dinner. It takes some planning.
And so, and making the determination or making the deciding that we're going to actually buy the groceries and make the food. Oh man, the grocery bill goes up. Oh no. But then when you look at the actual end of the month, holy crap, we just saved $300. Holy crap, we just saved $400. Like, right, it's a huge change. And so like going back and actually learning how to cook the food that you have, like we have tons of food storage, like right over there. I can look over and I can see tons of stuff. And it's like, we rotate through that like crazy. And now we're rotating through it more, but we're just first in, first out. Like if whatever went in first, we're eating that. And it's easy because you know what ingredients you have and you can build out your dinner plans for the week based on what you've already got and get used to using that all the time. It makes you a heck of a lot more resilient to food shortages and supply chain problems.
And if you're smart about it and you take the time to plan ahead, which is a prepper, that's part of our mindset, you can actually have a great experience with your kids, teaching them, working with them. And what a great relationship builder that is, to work together around the stove or around the chopping block. One of the things that's my wife has kind of done recently is my daughter, who's 19 now, she's starting to, she has a boyfriend and she's really interested in, they're, getting married, and they're not getting married yet, but they're really interested in it. And so my daughter's like, I don't even know if I know how to cook a bunch of things. Well, now my wife is like, hey, let's go take some time to learn some recipes and work together. And so those are some of those old, it sounds crazy, but those are returning to the roots. That's the things that we're talking about is getting around the kitchen table, having dinner together as a family. I mean, that is nowadays an ancient practice, the ancient practice of eating as a family around the kitchen table on a regular. And I'll admit, I don't do it every day of the week, but once a week for sure. I gather all my, chickens, if you will, and we all sit around the kitchen table, and it's usually Sunday night. We talk about the things that we've been doing the week. We talk about what we're going to do the next week. We talk about the things that are going on. And that is a really bonding experience. We spend hours together every Sunday night as a family. And that's something that's really valuable for all connection, that familial connection. And it starts with cooking food at home, home cooked
Absolutely.
meal.
Is home economics even taught in school, in high school anymore? I
I
don't
don't
even
think
know if
so.
that's even
So
there.
it's funny because we've hired a lot of young guys at work and training one of them. This kid's 24 and he's like, yeah, I took a sewing class in high school. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, I did that myself. And I'm like, they still do that? And he goes, well, they did, 7 years ago. I don't know now.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that's taking those types of classes anymore. Like
Yeah.
the practical things that make sense, they don't teach. Shops gone from most schools. Trades are gone from most schools. And what's funny is, you want to make more money, get in the trades.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest vacuum that's about to be that's about to destroy American economy. I think they said there's one person for every 80 that's retiring in the trades. There's one person entering the trades over the next. That's what they're expecting over the next decade. And those are the skills that pay bills easy. You can get through school faster. You can make way more money, right? And it's like you do that. Yeah. Those are the types of skills that. What's funny is you go back 80, 90 years. Every dad was expected to know how to make sure and maintain his home. Every aspect. And now it's like, well, no, you got to hire a roofing guy to do the roof. We got to hire a window guy to do the windows. I got to hire a siding guy to do the side. Got to hire an electrician to do electrical. Everything's been so compartmentalized intentionally so that we can't do it ourselves in most cases.
And what's crazy is what's the number one thing people search for on YouTube is how to fix stuff, how to do their plumbing, how to do their car, how to fix their window, their radio, their watch, the stuff that we all used to learn. And now it's the people who are blowing up are the ones that actually know those things. And it seems so silly that it's like, wait a minute, you don't we were talking this Sunday, actually, we were talking around last night, actually, we were talking around the dinner table because my family did a dinner table. Anyways, we went to dinner last night and they were talking about driving a stick shift and a manual car. There's a joke now. If you want to have theft deterrent from Generation Z, just buy a stick shift because nobody will steal your car because they don't know how to drive.
They'll never get anywhere.
And
I've got it started. Let's go. Clunk. Yeah. Okay, we're done. Find another
some of those funny things like that.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking is that I get a little doomsdayish, obviously, with the sign behind me and such. But I think the objective of looking back to our roots is actually, there was a quote I found by Winston Churchill. He said, "The future is unknowable, but the past should give us hope." And I really like that. And I think I really realized that's why one of the reasons why I really like to look to the past is that, okay, if our ancestors did it and it was harder for them, in different ways, right? Ways that I've learned to like, right? When you're a kid, right? You don't really want to go out and mow the lawn or do the yard work or pull weeds or, dig in the dirt. Those kind of things are hard until you build up those muscles, until you, learn what it really means and what it feels like to accomplish something. Excuse me.
And to work in the earth.
To work in the dirt, to build something. And I built my property with my son, and to feel that sense of accomplishment. And then as you get older, that's what you value more than just sitting down and relaxing and playing video games or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that becomes far more valuable. The family time, the quiet time, those things that are truly more valuable rather than just, I want the nice car and with the stereo. Things change, when you're a kid. And it's like the evolution we've talked about, the evolution of prepping as well. When you start prepping, you start out small, and then a lot of people end up becoming homesteaders, right? And I think if you're headed in the right direction, it eventually takes you to that homesteading, to that looking back to prepare for the future, to simplifying and getting away from the cities. And it's a strange evolution. It's like going backwards. It's like some people would call it devolving, right? But for me, it's an evolution.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, because when you first get into prep, everyone goes for the high-tech gadgets right away, right? The cool tactical stuff, right? And like, oh, this tool can do 40 different things, but it doesn't do any of them very well. And you're like, oh, I'm getting a deal because I got this one tool that does it's a what's a bob or whatever. I don't know.
The tactical shovel.
Yeah, a tactical shovel that also has sights and everything else, but you put the shovel in your shoulder, and if you fire, it'll cut your arm off. Like, what? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But we do that, and we buy all these technical things, and buy like freeze-dried food. Not to diss on freeze-dried food because I have a ton of it. It's great, but it's like it does create another problem that you have to fix. Whereas if you're doing canning consistently and regularly, simple revolutions. You're doing the reps. You're staying strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that everybody used to do.
Here's a truth that I hope everyone who's in the prepping community ends up learning. The more you know, the less you need. Right? And I'm still trying to grasp that because I like stuff. To be prepared, you got to have stuff. Especially when it hits the fan, you got to have everything you need because you're not going to get any more than than what you have. So, but I think if you're out and about and you're bugging out, your bug out bag can be very simple. Just a simple example there. You don't need to carry as much because you know how to survive.
Our buddy Tyler White, for those that follow him on TJX Survival, like his website, his moniker is the more you know, the less you carry. I don't see trees or bushes anymore. I see tools, food, and shelter.
That's awesome.
That's not a normal viewpoint in today's society. That is looking back to our roots. That's looking to the past and understanding what you can do. Like he is 1,000% more capable surviving than anybody else walking around.
And that mentality transfers today in the business world.
Yeah.
I think another lost skill, honestly, and I don't know if this is reading. You know, how many books out there that could teach us these skills that we could learn from, that we just sit on the shelf or sit at the library, or we never even buy because they're not ones we would read. And we scroll and scroll and scroll, or we watch the next TV program. You know, programming. We can get into a whole episode on how that's been part of our conditioning. And so I'm like, you know what? I want to read more. I want to learn more about some of the things that one of the things I'm reading right now, and it's not necessarily directly related to preparing, but I'm spending a lot of time reading, obviously the scriptures, but I spend a lot of time studying Stoicism, which is a huge opportunity to return to some of that philosophy and expanding my mind and learning some of those disciplines and those values that have kind of been lost in our society right now. You know, the founders of our country said that I'm going to butcher the saying, but the Constitution, our constitutional republic, was built by and really runs on a moral people and a people that understand moral codes and moral principles. And the morality of our country right now is so degenerated. It's like, what in the heck? The founding fathers would be turning over in their graves right now. And I think if we return to some of those, integrity and character, and if you say you're going to do something, you do it. Not, well, did you write it down? Was it recorded? Did I sign my name to it? Like, where's the contract? If it's not in the contract, you said you were going, like, back in the day, your word was your bond. You would rather die than break your word. Today, breaking your word is like right, left, and straight, for most people. And that's just not, those are some of the things I think that we need to go back to 100%. In terms of returning to our roots. And if we can spend time reading, imagine the skill sets we would have, because we would know, and we would need less, and we would need to carry less.
Here's another thought, is that I was at my property this weekend. My wood stove just had a cast iron door. And so I was able to order some fire glass, and I put it in the door. And now at night we have the light of the fire that we can sit by. Why do we need to spend so much money, or do people spend so much money on solar for their home and backup batteries to power everything they need? We can live on so much less. I mean, I don't want to try and sound like the globalist, right? Just, you don't need all this stuff, right? No, it's our right to have and do whatever we want, waste as much energy as we want, and live however we want, and not be forced and told that way. But when it comes down to it, like our ancestors, I mean, candles were very valuable, right? To have
Mm-hmm.
to have candlelight in your home and work by the fire, and those are the kind of things that I find myself longing for, right? Being with that, like a kid, power goes out, yay, the power's, and so we pull out the flashlights and turn the TV off and yet play game time and have family time. Like Mike's saying, he eats with his family 7 days a week. That's awesome. I can't say that. So I think a lot of us are progressing that way because we see the value of time with family, those things that are more valuable. As I mentioned, as we get older, and those things that are truly more valuable. That when you die, okay, what are your regrets? Oh, I regret I didn't work enough. I didn't save up enough money. No, those are not the things that
no one
really
has ever
count in
said
the end,
that.
right?
They've regretted time with their family. They've regretted doing things that matter most. And teaching kids the lessons that they learn or imparting their wisdom on the next generation. Those are the things people have regrets over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's interesting is like all three of us are fathers. And there were times when we were kids that our parents were trying to teach us good things, honesty, integrity, learn about God and Jesus and understand this beautiful world we live in. And they would teach us these things. And we were like, oh, come on. And now we're like, please, kids, listen. Mm-hmm. I screwed up as a kid. I didn't listen enough. I should have listened more. And we're trying to impart those same things to our kids or the next generation. And it's interesting because you look around the world and it's visible how we've become a godless society, or in other words, how our society has changed gods. Instead of focusing on the one true God, everyone's worshiping their idols. Instant fame, fortune. Look at my travel blog and look at all the things. Look at me. Look what I can do. Right. It's that silly skit from Mad TV. Stuart, look what I can do. Hey,
yeah, I do. I love that one.
And there's zero value to what he just did. But that's what everyone's looking at and spending their time at. You know what? You want to build a good skill? Learn how to write and read cursive. Because no one reads and writes cursive anymore. And you know what? That's going to screw up a lot of people trying to figure out what you're doing. That's a great way to talk and code to people. Communicate and code.
Exactly. Cursive. When I'm writing notes in my notebook, I don't care if anybody's looking because it's always in cursive, right?
And they'll never know.
Especially what's funny?
Fountain pens, like, right? Buy some fountain pens.
What's so funny? My son, my future son-in-law, my daughter and he are getting married next June. He graduated from San Diego State, and my wife wrote him a card, congratulations and all that. And my wife writes in cursive, and he opens the card, a graduate degree in San Diego State, right? Opens the card and says, his mom came over and read it for him because he couldn't read cursive, and I was just laughing, and it was so funny. I hate to throw him under the bus because he's a highly intelligent person, and he's really
a great guy. Otherwise,
it's running the family. Absolutely, try go back and try and read my grandfather's or my grandmother's handwriting in cursive, and it's difficult. It's tricky, yeah.
But that's the point. Like, it's not that he's not smart; it's that the educational system has failed him. They took out critical things. All the things that are critical importance are being removed from education for a reason, so we can be more easily controlled. We can be forced into the fenced-in area of the cities and the 15-minute cities and be unable to do anything for ourselves.
Yeah.
But the reality is all you have to do is a little bit, and you can gain mileage out of every aspect of life. Learn to do something, do it well, add something to it. And be okay with the fact that you're going to suck at it at first. Like, everything has a learning curve. And people think, I'm not going to try this because I'm going to be bad at it. Dude, all the more reason to try it.
Exactly.
You are going to be bad at it. Everyone was bad at it. Dude, Michael Jordan wasn't Michael Jordan the Great when he was in middle school and high school. Like, he got cut from the team. And he worked hard and got better at it and joined, and then he became Michael Jordan, and everyone's like, oh, he's the GOAT. No, LeBron's the GOAT. Who cares who's the GOAT? He sucked at one point in his life too. You look at everybody who's done something phenomenal with their career or an expertise or something phenomenal, they sucked at it at one time. And that's perfect. That's part of the plan of learning.
I think that goes back to another thing in our roots. I don't know I mean, I didn't live 100 years ago, so I don't know exactly what society was like, but it seems to me like today in our time that nobody wants to believe anybody unless they have some kind of formal training. Like you
Mhm.
can't,
Yeah.
like, how silly is this? I can't tell you what a man or woman is because I'm not officially a biologist. Like that's just common sense, man. So
Mhm.
some of these things like that, it's like we have to remember that if you want to, we can all learn, we can all grow, we can, every skill that a human being has, in almost every skill that a human being has, is learnable by another human being. So if you see somebody with an expertise in something, my son was sweet yesterday. He says, Dad, you make, we were talking about something, and he said, Dad, you make it look so easy. And I said, it's because I've been doing it for so dang long. I've been
Mhm.
struggling. I've put in the, my daughter says, that's because Dad put in the work. And that's exactly right.
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that my kids are recognizing that, because if you want to have a skill, if you want to have a knowledge, if you want to have an ability or capacity, you got to put in the work. And it's blood, sweat, and tears sometimes. And too much of our society today, in my opinion, at least the younger generation, is just like, oh, I just give it to me, just entitled, like it's supposed to be easy, fast food, like I just drive up to the window
Yep.
and I already know how to do it. No, you don't drive up to the window and pay if you know how to do it. You got to put in the work. You got to read the books. You got to put in the hours, the blood, sweat, and tears.
Mhm.
And those are some of those that, like what Utah Mike was talking about earlier, about, I believe it was him anyways, that talked about the work ethic. That's the work ethic I'm talking about, he was talking about. And I totally agree. So that's something as well.
Yeah, the white coat fallacy, or like everyone that wants to appeal to authority, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's been ingrained us in our entire life, but you got to break through that and realize, okay, when was the last time you went to the doctor that they did any good whatsoever, other than giving you some drugs? It's ridiculous. You can do more good on your own. I mean, that's been my experience
Well, it's
in
peer
our
reviewed.
home, taking care of myself and my family. Yeah.
It's fact checked and peer reviewed, right?
Well,
Right.
yeah,
That's what everyone looks at. Oh, it's fact checked, peer reviewed, and they want it instantaneously. Well, but where's the source of truth on that? Go back a few episodes, listen to discerning the truth, right? In our terrible times, discerning the truth and understanding. The best way to do that is in being in tune with God. And it's funny because, like, going back to the penmanship and cursive, you know, the kids today, they're texting all these codes, and it's just like the first letter or the second letter of every word, and it's all becomes one word, and there's mashups and things, and it's this weird text. I'm like, dude, as soon as the grid goes down, they won't know how to communicate with anybody.
Mhm.
So we got to teach them how conversations, teach them how to communicate, how, like, the lost art of debate. Like, it's funny because you reading history as a kid, growing up in high school and everything, reading through history and hearing about the massive debates that they'd have in the Senate floors, and Congress would, like, and they'd have these long debates. And now they don't do it the same. They'll have short arguments, and then, like, it was just what, last year there was that huge fight that erupted in, like, the Chinese Senate or something like that. Like some other Asian country, someone can fact check me and correct me on this, but they, like, a fist fight broke out, and like everybody was kung fu fighting. It was crazy. But it's like we've lost the ability to have direct conversations without getting offended.
Yeah. I think that relates to the old adage you're saying that the pen is mightier than the sword. And that boils down to the fact that if you can articulate in writing what your thoughts and your opinions are, you can be so powerful and influential. And being able to articulate it on paper, you have to first articulate it in your mind. And communication, whether it's verbal or written, that's what moves the world and has moved the world for centuries. What is the number one? I don't know what all the statistics are, but I've heard that they're really deteriorating. But there's the new generation. The percentage of people that believe in God or that follow God or have a faith in God is deteriorating. And we're having fewer and fewer people. And this next generation, so many people are leaving the church and whatever denomination, and just the belief in God and Christ. And that's something that I think that we ought to return back to, is that faith and the ability and hope. And I feel like a lot of the reason why we have so many mental health issues and crises is because it's in our, I don't know if it's in our physical DNA, but it's definitely in our spiritual DNA to believe in a God and have that faith and hope and that working together and community. And the world today is now like, no, every man for themselves, and do what thou wilt, and whatever pleases your, please for eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die, kind of a mentality. And that's something that's like, no wonder there's so many mental health, because what we're hearing in society is directly in conflict with what our natural body and our natural spirit is trying to like. It's the conflict and discord, and that's what's causing, in my opinion, a lot of this, at least initially, a lot of this mental health that we're seeing, is that people abandon these natural processes.
Well, people aren't trying to improve themselves. They're being told that they're fine just the way they are, right? Don't change. You're loved just the way you are. God loves you the way you are. Yeah, that's all true. But the purpose is to get better at whatever it is. Like you're saying, everything takes time, and to think that you're fine the way you are it's a lie, and you're going to be stuck there. And what I've got plenty of examples that I won't get into because sticky situations, but you know what I mean? That's just kind of the mentality nowadays. Oh, we're fine. God love me the way I am. I don't have to do anything. That's off topic, but
not really, because you have to change. And I think there was a big, and I don't know, again, I didn't live 100 years ago, but it just seems like there were so many people that were willing to go out and have their own homestead. I mean, you think of all the homesteaders, that just people that just realize, hey, I'm going to go, I live in feudal Europe. I want to go be free. And they're willing to sacrifice everything, literally everything, to be able to get over here and have liberty and have freedom and have their own property and have
nothing for free other than
life.
Homestead some property for 40 years and it's yours, right?
Yeah. And so that, to me, that's today we take everything for granted. We're like, yeah, in fact, what's funny is my daughter and I were having a conversation about, when they go out when they get married and go out on their own, they're going to have just a humble apartment. They can't live after 30 years, my wife and I, or 26 years, sorry, we have a nice house. That doesn't come your first year of marriage. It doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you also had to change locations.
That's true.
Right. You sacrificed some of the comforts of where you were because you wanted something, a bigger, better life in a different way. Not necessarily bigger, but a better life in certain aspects. But you actually earned that change, and you made the hard decisions to acquire it. And that's the thing, is like, you go back to the past, and wisdom comes from learning from knowledge and experience. The best way to do things, not necessarily the easiest way to do things.
Yep.
Right. And wisdom is going to be more valuable. We have a lot less of it in society today, but it's going to be more valuable in the coming days than anything else.
Struggle is good for it. We need to struggle more. We need to. I hate struggling I wish I could just sit back and drink lemonade all day long, but I can't do that and expect to have any reward in life or any great achievement. There's an old saying, I think it's super funny. And it's, the best way to have nobody ever talk bad about you is don't do anything, don't be anything, and don't have anything. Well, that's just not going to happen. So the inevitability of people talking bad about you or you having a struggle in life, if you're going to live, you got to have struggle. And so some of the idea that's in this generation that everything should come easy, everything should be just given to me, everything should just come is totally, I don't know where we got it from. It's just not right. But we need to remember there's a struggle, and there's growth in struggle, and there's power in struggle. And not only that, but especially as men, there's strength and vulnerability. Like, yes, we need to be strong and masculine, and we need to be monsters, but at the same time, we also need to be tender, and we need to be kind, and we need to be able to show emotion, and we need to be able to talk to one another and communicate and be show that side, because that's true. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard a saying one time ago that, when something along the lines of, back in the day, if a man could cry in an emotional experience that warranted it, that was actually considered something of true strength. And I agree with that. There's too many. I don't be a whiny crybaby, and I'm not talking about that. But like, if there's an emotional something that's happening and you feeling that emotion and it's genuine and it's real, let it go, dude. There's no reason to be so so stoic that you can't show that emotion. I think it's beneficial and powerful.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Yeah, I guess one of my last comments here is something else I was thinking about. I'll throw out to you guys, see what you think. Nowadays in our modern world, just to think of what it takes to put together, say, a phone. Do you have any idea how many people and how many companies and how many years and all the technology that has taken to develop this amazing device? Just to do a single circuit board takes hundreds of people knowing their little part, this person knows how to do this little thing and that, and it all comes together and becomes this technology. I think, and I'm just throwing this out there, see what you think. I think the old world knowledge can be known more to oneself, if that makes sense, right? Whereas this is completely unknown to me. I have no idea how this works. I just know that it works. And I may know a slight part about it, something about the lithium battery. I could probably talk to you about the lithium battery, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to old, and looking back to our roots, old world technology, old world knowledge, I think most of that, and maybe I'm wrong, could be known for oneself, right?
Yeah.
That's just a thought I had as I was contemplating today.
What's that quote? Oh, man, there's a quote: "Above all, be true to thyself." Where's that? What is that from?
I think it's
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'm gonna pull it up here.
I just really,
to thine own self be true. That's what
to thine own self be. Yeah,
and it's interesting. It's that is like so lost in current society, right? We talked a minute ago about like how different people's values were 30, 40, 50, 100 years ago, right? But like, be true to thyself, not let yourself believe something false,
mm-hmm.
and or change. Hey, today I'm a different whatever. I'm a mouse today. Like whatever. You can't just jump on the gravy train, follow whatever they say, and be happy. Happiness, true lasting happiness, comes from accepting and owning the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's priceless. That is more valuable to me than prepping, more valuable to me than gold. Like, because as I know that and live that, my relationship with God is better.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells me stuff about myself that sometimes I'm like, I didn't want to know that, but I'm always grateful later.
Yeah. And you're not tossed around with whatever wind of doctrine is coming that day or that week or whatever fad or whatever is happening. That's one of the things that I've tried to live my life in such a way that, I want to live a certain way. And if I have an influence that's coming at me that I can agree with, and I have contemplated it and I've pondered it, and if something that's worth assimilating, I'll take it on and I will expand and grow. If something comes at me that's just not right, doesn't feel right, doesn't jive with my direction, I disregard it. And sometimes that means people. And that's the reality. Everybody, I think all of us need to be more, we need to set healthy boundaries, and we need to realize that, hey, I can't just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And we need to say no to some things. And sometimes we need to say yes to some things and stop saying no. So there's a lot of wisdom. I think one of the things too to remember about our roots is just the wisdom of the ages. Go back and learn philosophy, learn how to ponder, learn how to think. Thinking is a lot of hard work. And if we can learn to ponder, to think, to read, to expand our minds and then expand our skill sets, I think it'll be an invaluable process in our lives, and we'll become it, because we are valuable as we are, and God has a plan. If this is what you espouse, and I do, God has a plan to make you better. So don't fight it. Know your value as a person as you are now, but then also say, you know what, I can do better.
Yeah,
I'm valuable now. I am valuable. Where I am today is valuable. People love me. Doggone it. People like me. Whatever you want to say.
And I'm good enough.
But then remember, you've got to expand. You have to grow. You have to be better than you are. You can't solve the problems of tomorrow with the guy you are today. So you got to grow. You have to expand. You have to become better and change. Change is the only thing that's constant, as they say. So just remember that, I think, and that those might be my final thoughts as we come to the close here.
I appreciate that. It's funny because we can easily get distracted. We can easily lose sight and lose purpose and lose hope. But if we go back to our roots, if we go back to our foundation and back to our origin story, right? We can go all the way back to the very beginning. You know, like, and they said, like, what's that movie? Vincini says, "Go back to the beginning."
Back to the beginning,
right? And Princess Bride. But it's like, go back to the beginning. That's where the plan, you had a plan and you started on your journey and you started going. If you lost sight of where you're going and what you're doing, go back to the beginning. Go all the way back to Adam and Eve if you need to. Like, really simplify everything. Okay, maybe they were naked and that wasn't so great, but they had a garden and they took care of it. Maybe that's where we got to go back to. Keep your clothes on, but grow a garden. Get back foundationally to
hey, barefoot. You can go barefoot in the garden. That's good.
Barefoot in the garden.
Hey, one last comment. You think about roots, you think about a tree, right? That's some of my pondering as well. The strength of the tree lies in its roots. I think that's true for me as well.
Awesome. Well, guys, you've been a fantastic audience tonight. Thank you, everyone that's been involved in the live. And thank you, everyone that is listening. Don't forget to check out preppertalkradio.com. Join in all the fun at our Facebook page, private group, Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance, and make sure you're liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications so that you can get involved with our weekly lives at 6 p.m. every Wednesday night Mountain Time. You are the only one that can cause and affect change in your personal preparedness and in your family's journey. You are the biggest instigator for good in their lives. So make sure you're doing good. Make sure you're getting prepared. And above all, be a swivel head. Stay ready-minded. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in and not tuning out. See you next time.
Take care.